New is the trend in nearly every facet of life today. New technology, new style, new ideas, and new history, for example. The incessant quest for fresh interpretations and improvements often leads many to ignore the old. Yet it is in the old that one may find the path to the new. Thus, this study examines the work of past scholars, many of whom have long passed from this world, to create a new perspective of the role Native Americans played in the Euro-American development of the present-day United States of America. Over the past 40 years, historians have depicted Indians in a more positive light. Unlike their predecessors who portrayed Indian resistance through violence and warfare, historians now present another form of resistance through accommodation and the preservation of cultural institutions. No longer viewed as being the pawns of colonial empires, Indians are described by scholars as shrewd politicians who successfully negotiated for the preservation of their culture. Yet all Indian scholars must concede that Indians lost the struggle to retain their traditional ways and lands, regardless of how they attempted to resist. Hence, Indian history remains the story of an indigenous people's fight against the onslaught of European and American cultures. Despite being first published in 1991, Richard White's work, The Middle Ground, Indians, Empires, and Republics in the Great Lakes Region, 1650 to 1815, exemplifies the newer Indian history, likening the chronicle of Indian Euro-American relations to a narrative that resembled the sea pounding on a rock. Historians, White noted, portrayed the Euro-Americans as the sea that either completely dissolved or eroded the rock, which was the Indians. Recognizing this as being a simple and linear narrative of what really transpired, White sought to, and successfully did, explain Indian Euro-American relations as a creative process of accommodation, where the two broadly defined groups first met and regarded each other as alien, but over 2 centuries constructed a common, mutually comprehensible world, where peoples adjusted their differences and created a middle ground, a place in between cultures, peoples, empires, and the non-state world of villages. Though often a place of turbulent relationships that erupted into violence, the middle ground developed because of the Euro-Americans' inability to dictate to or ignore the Indians. Euro-Americans needed Indians as allies, as partners in exchange, as sexual partners, as friendly neighbors. Yet despite their initial need, Euro-Americans, primarily through their weight in numbers, eventually possessed the ability and power to dismantle the middle ground and to recreate the Indians as alien, as exotic, as other. And once the middle ground dissolved, the importance of Indians faded. While White and other scholars cast Indians in a more impressive and positive light, few historians attempted to explain how Indians influenced or played a larger role in the development of America. In 1997, historian Donald Fixico raised this issue in Rethinking American Indian History, a work comprising 7 essays from 2 conferences held in 1994 and 1995 that focused on the study of North American Indians. The conferences resulted from concerns of scholars about the enormous complexity of Indian life and the various cultures and languages of the more than 500 Indian nations that challenged their interpretations. This complexity, Fixico explained, caused scholars dealing with the subject to rethink their work, theories, and methodologies. From this collection of articles, Fixico deduced that Indian history is following a trend that focuses heavily on cultural and ethnographic studies, approaches that some historians, such as Eugene Genovese, argue fail to answer the more weighty issues of American history.
To keep listening to this audiobook, I've left you a link in the description so you can do it, at no cost thanks to Audible's 30-day free trial.